Ringgit recovered and near an 8-year high. But your grocery bills is still probably the same as what it was 12 months ago. Let me correct myself. It's not just roughly the same, it's identical. That same mamak, that same teh tarik that you drank, the same 20 ringgit receipt that you see on the table, that mild frustration when you pick it up and look at it. Here's what this video is going to prove. A strong currency does not necessarily mean that you get a cheaper life. They're not the same thing, and they would never be the same thing. In fact, a lot of Malaysians are actually making a costly mistake. They are just sitting there and waiting for their cost of living to reflect what our currency has become. If today you're earning in ringgit, this matters more than whatever news that you've read. So I hope that you stick with me for the next 10 to 12 minutes. Let me take you back to February 2024, and this is important. I was at a mamak in Subang. It was a late Thursday night, it was after work. I had that same teh tarik right in front of me, but that day I ordered extra cow just because it was just that kind of week. I picked up my phone, I was looking at it, and I saw this headline saying that ringgit hit a 26-year low, 4.8 ringgit to a dollar. I remember exactly what I felt. In my mind I was thinking, alamak, habis lah, this time. Every subscription that I had that was in US dollars, and let me tell you, I had a lot of them. Suddenly overnight, it just became 20% more expensive just to pay for them. And that was the floor. That was the lowest that ringgit has ever been since 1998. Now let's fast forward back to today, March 2026, as I'm recording this. The ringgit went from 4.8 to the dollar, and it went down to 3.9, give and take. That's a 19% recovery in a 2-year time frame. The headlines are calling it, oh, this is the 8-year high. The ministers are talking about fiscal discipline, they're talking about FDI inflows. Nvidia is building an AI infrastructure in Malaysia. Google is committing $2 billion. Microsoft is in it for $2.2 billion. The momentum is real and the numbers are real. But I need to say with one thing before we go any further. Let's go back to that mamak. That teh tarik that I mentioned, it's still 250. Your nasi lemak bungkus is still 6 to 7 ringgit. Your favorite char kway teow at your usual place, that's still 12 ringgit. So what has changed? Every time you go and shop in the grocery store, look at the bill. Has anything changed? That same mild frustration each time you're looking at that grocery bill, you're just asking yourself, how am I benefiting from this? This is the contradiction that we need to talk about, because this is what I promised you at the start of the video. The ringgit recovering and your cost of living dropping, they are not on the same scale, and they may not be related at all. Some of you may be thinking, you know what, I'll give it a few months, let's see where it goes. I need to show you exactly why that instinct is steering you away from a real opportunity. But we'll get there. We'll get there, I promise. Let's first understand why the ringgit is actually recovering. Most people hear the headlines of 8-year high and think that, things are getting better. But that's not actually accurate. There are 3 specific reasons that cause the recovery of the ringgit. And none of them has anything to do with what you pay at your mamak. Now bear with me here. This is gonna sound like an economics lecture, but I promise you at the end of it there's a point that will probably make you genuinely annoyed in a useful way. Firstly, the US Federal Reserves are cutting rates. From 2022 to 2024, the Fed hiked to about 5.5%. At that rate, if you had money to invest, you could earn 5.5% risk-free in US dollars. So, why would you ever invest into a Malaysian bond that only returns 3.8%? So billions of international capital left Malaysia and the ringgit fell. Therefore, when the Fed started to cut the rates in late 2024, that carry trade reversed. Foreign money started to come back into Malaysia and the ringgit rose. And number 2, real FDI inflows, not just hot money. As I said earlier in the video, Microsoft has invested $2.2 billion US dollars. Google has committed 2 billion US dollars. Nvidia has AI infrastructure commitments too. These are construction projects and data centers. They are not portfolio bets. They convert the real USD into ringgit in the Malaysia economy. And that structural demand alone has pushed the currency rate to be more durable than the carry trade. And lastly, number 3 is that the government chose fiscal pain. RAW 95 targeted subsidies, electricity tariff restructuring. These are all politically costly moves. But when the government signals that it's willing to take that pain to fix the deficit, foreign bonds start to treat Malaysia debt as being safer. And thus, the demand for the Malaysia government bond rose. And therefore, the ringgit strengthened. And we are here today because all 3 of these things have aligned. What I want you to notice in that list is that your salary, it did not go up. Your landlord did not even call you to lower your rent. Your supplier definitely did not ring you up and say, hey, good news, yeah, we're repricing our contracts. Nobody called. Nobody ever calls with good news like that. And this is the sticky price paradox. And this is also where I need to be direct with you. What happens is that businesses have already locked in their supplier contracts at a 4 ringgit and 50 cent exchange rate probably about 6 to 12 months ago. And at this moment of time, they are selling you the products and the inventories that are locked in at that exchange rate. And these imported good distributors are not going to renegotiate their 4 ringgit and 50 cent contract with their supplier, or neither are they willing to cut their margins or pass that saving down to you by next Tuesday. The lag between the currency movement and also the price adjustments that you see in the retail stores are between 6 to 18 months at a minimum. And the food services, especially your mamaks, your kopitiam, your cha-chan-teng, your restaurants, your cafes, they're gonna take longer than that. Now, why is that so? It's because they're locked into their lease agreements, their staff costs, and sometimes they have some franchise fees, and all of these are renegotiated on an annual basis. But here is where I was wrong, and I want to be specific about this. And this is what I told myself. My instincts were telling me that, you know what? Just wait it out. Just wait for another 12 months. The ringgit is getting stronger, and the prices, the costs will be readjusted sooner or later, and everything will start getting cheaper. I was wrong, and here's the specific reason why. Sticky pricing isn't just about the delay. A significant part of it is deliberate. Businesses that raise their price during that 2022 to 2024 mark, they are actually running an experiment. Can the market absorb this? And the market, meaning us, we said yes to that 7 ringgit nasi lemak. And then we came back the next day and we still paid 7 ringgit for the nasi lemak. When GrabMart was increasing their pricing, we still continued to order from GrabMart day after day. As Malaysians, we complain. Of course we complain. We forwarded that receipt to our family, to our friends, to our partners, telling how ridiculous the price is. Every time when we were in the toilet, we were taking a shower, we were reminded of how much we paid, but we still paid. So what does that tell all the businesses? It tells them that we adapt. We are okay with that new floor. Me, you, everyone, we all collectively have decided that, you know what, it's okay, we can still pay for this. The only time that a business will voluntarily lower their prices is not because of us, it's because their competitors force them to. And if we're talking about the Malaysia F&B sector specifically, it's even slower and it's even more uneven. So during that 2022 to 2024 inflation, it wasn't just a temporary shock and all of us think that, hey, you know what, it will self-correct itself. It's actually a permanent price readjustment. The ringgit recovering does not reverse that process. Waiting for it to reverse is also the wrong strategy. Therefore, the question is not, when will my teh tarik be cheaper? The right question is something that most people have not thought about yet. I want to share with you a conversation that I had with my friend. She's roughly in her 30s and she works in corporate finance and she earns pretty well, right? Somewhere in the ballpark of 12,000 ringgit. She's a sharp person and she follows the financial news very, very closely. And to be honest, I would say that she understands this way more than I do. We were just having coffee in January and she just told me that, oh, she put 30,000 in fixed deposits. She said it's safe, almost 3% guaranteed, just wait for things to stabilize. Then I asked her, stabilize for? She looked at me and said, well, prices come down and the economy will settle down. Then I said to her, what if prices don't come down? What if that 7 ringgit nasi lemak that you paid for is just nasi lemak now? And what if the ringgit sitting at about 3.9 is the most useful thing that we have right now? And you're just putting it into safe deposit instead of putting it into work? She went quiet for a moment. And for the record, she usually does not. And I said to her, right now, today, every single US denominated asset is effectively 20% cheaper than it was compared to 24 months ago. US equities, US bonds, ETFs. If you convert 1,000 ringgit into USD today at about 3.9 exchange rate, you get about $256. And when you look back into February 2024, if you have exchanged the same amount at 4.8, you will have only gotten $208. And that is 23% difference. Before a single asset in that portfolio ever moves in prices, you have already captured a 23% gain. The ringgit recovering is not a signal that your cost of living is going to drop, but it's actually a window of opportunity for you to acquire foreign currency assets at technically a discounted rate. My friend has been thinking about the ringgit as how most of the Malaysians are conditioned to do. What I'm trying to say is that you think about how it's affecting what you have to pay, but not actually what you can own with it. My friend, she was looking at the ringgit to make herself less stressed when it comes to survival, not to build. And that's the reframe. It's a simple one. The question is, what can I acquire now at this 8-year high that I couldn't do 24 months ago? And the answers here are very, very specific. Look, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice, but this is just my own personal opinion on things. If you have a StashAway account, open it up, right? Put 500 ringgit in a US denominated asset or portfolio. That's only one action, right? All it takes is 5 minutes. You're not actually betting that the US dollar will go up. You're locking in today's conversion rate before the next reversal happens. History says that the ringgit will weaken again, and it has always been the case. And when that happens, that 500 ringgit that you invested today is gonna become more than 500 ringgit when that reversal happens. Now, if you use digital tools in your work, go and find out all of the USD price subscriptions that you have today, whether it's Claude, Gemini, Adobe, or it could be your cloud hosting, your websites, registers, anything. One thing that you can do with all of these subscriptions is that you can switch it to an annual billing and you're trying to lock in your exchange rates for the next 12 months. If you are a parent paying for your child's foreign education, prepay a semester if you are able to. Explore a multi-currency account, something like Wise or a bank that allows you to hold a US dollars. If the ringgit were to have, let's say, a 10% reversal, whatever that you can save up and convert by today would potentially go a long way when it comes to like a 3-year degree, and that definitely beats any FD rates that you can get in Malaysia today. EPS Member Investment Scheme allows you to move a portion of your account one's money into approved unit trusts, and you can select the ones with USD or foreign currency exposures. Since you're already contributing to EPF anyways, might as well make some work of it. Back in the days when parents put everything into fixed deposit, they were not wrong for their time. FD made the most sense when ringgit was stable. The problem is that we have a 20% FX swing in the last 24 months. A 2 point something percent, even a 3% FD rate wouldn't survive that. The generation that builds real wealth from this point onwards is the generation that understands that ringgit is a tool to be utilized. Use it when it's strong. So here's the question I want to leave in your mind, and I genuinely want to hear your thoughts in the comments. When was the last time that you actually managed to use a strong ringgit to get ahead instead of using it to catch your breath? Drop it down all below, I will be reading all of them. And that's all for this video. See ya!